welcome back to Whispers from the Phylactery, where we talk about all things tabletop role-playing to help you become a better player, game runner, or storyteller. And today we're going to be talking about something we don't always think about, but one that can make or break a game session, and that's table manners. And no, I'm not talking about how to hold your fork at the table like my grandmother taught me. Though if you are eating something greasy at the table, please wipe your hands before touching any of the dice or books, especially my books. I'm talking today about how to be a better player, the little things you can do that make sessions smoother, more fun, and more welcoming for everyone. So let's just go over a few important reminders. The first one on here is pay attention. It sounds obvious, but it's easy to get distracted scrolling your phone while someone else is role-playing their scene, or to zone out when it isn't your turn in combat. But we should remember that tabletop role-playing games are collaborative storytelling. If you're checked out half the time, it affects everyone's immersion and momentum and can bring the mood of the table down. Being engaged shows respect to your fellow players, and it makes the game better for you. You'll catch clues, understand the plot, and find more opportunities to roleplay meaningfully. And this is coming from someone with a very short attention span. I feel this particularly hard, and it's why I put it at the top of this list. It's very important for me as a player to remember. It's the one I have trouble with the most. I used to have my phone at the table or little fidget toys nearby that I inevitably broke after using them too much, since it wasn't providing any new excitement for my brain, especially if we were taking a long time on something that my character wasn't super involved with. It was just tangential, then I would find my attention wandering, and the phone is right there for my character sheet, but then I end up like, oh, well, what's on the news? And it goes down the rabbit hole. So what I've started to do is I leave my phone down as much as possible. And I advise this for everybody else too. If I have my character in my phone, I try to write out the broad strokes of my character onto a character sheet. And then I only pull up my phone if I need something specific in the moment. Like, how does this spell work? I don't quite remember. I don't want to grab a book. Or what does this item do? I have it down, but if we're actually doing like the DM needs the nitty gritty, I'll need to pull up the item. And then once I've done that, I put the phone back down. And I also find, for me at least, it really helps to keep my hands busy doing something light. It gives something for my brain to do that still allows it to catch what's going on in the story and do some focus. Ironically, more focused than if I didn't have anything to do at all. My latest thing is I prefer cross-stitching. But any simple project can do, really, as long as it's small. Like, because you don't want to be at the table working on a giant thing. And you don't want to have to be looking down at it all the time. So with cross-stitching, I can look at the pattern, and then I can just start going through rows of stitches while looking at the table, listening to players, and I'm focused on the game more than I am the stitching, which does lead to accidents sometimes where I do extra stitches and I gotta go back, but it's really just something to keep my hands busy, which is the lesser of two evils after all. Is I'm going to be distracted, unfortunately. The best I can do is make sure I'm less distracted and more focused on the game for everyone else. The second tip I have for table manners and is sharing the spotlight. I find that this is something that can happen with a lot of newer players, but it's also something I've seen with more experienced players as well. I mean, it's easy to get excited about your character and want to act at every opportunity, but we need to remember that everyone at the table wants to shine. I mean, I know it's really tempting when someone fails a skill check or perception check to want to jump in on top of that because of the meta knowledge that they failed. But what I've come to ask myself as I lean away from winning the game and more into the story is, would my character really do that? And if the answer is no, part of the story is failure as well. I like Pathfinder 2nd Edition's exploration system for this, in that when I'm running the game, I can ask each player what they're doing. One might be stealthily scouting ahead for enemies, one might be keeping an eye out for hidden doorways or traps, the other might be keeping their eye out for any runic sigils, or the druid might be looking around to try and note any differentials in the flora and the fauna. And then when it comes to a question of, well, it removes the question of, oh, why didn't I get a check to roll for the secret door? Like, well, you weren't focusing on secret doors. You were paying more attention to the flora and the fauna. You weren't searching minutely for little discrepancies in the layout of the rocks on the cavern. So with the exploration system, everyone says what they want to do, and then the GM describes the scene and what their characters would notice in that scene according to what they would want to be doing. It just bugs me a little bit when people are like, oh, yes, I'm going to look around this room. Oh, that was a low roll. Everyone else jumps on. It's like, oh, I'm going to look too. I'm doing it too. Weren't you stealthing over there? No, I'm looking over there. And then they try to do all of these things when their character would only have time to do one of them. So it's like, of course I was over there. And then, of course you were. So I like to give room for other people to shine. I usually build flaws into my characters now, where it's like, yeah, he's not perceptive. I leave that to someone else. If something happens, that's unfortunate. His method of finding traps is kicking the door. And then part of sharing that spotlight is, if you notice that you've been talking a lot, consider trying to hold back and create moments for others. Or if they want to engage but they just don't know how, ask their characters questions in character yourself, or encourage quieter players to share their thoughts about the current situation. There is a big caveat here. Please do not push someone to do roleplay if they are showing signs of discomfort or if they're not engaging with you. Don't keep pushing them. Just let shyer players know if they're not ready, or they might never be ready, that they can join at their own pace. Once a session, you might say, hey, do you have any thoughts about this? And if they say no or that, then drop it. As a storyteller, if I find someone is being quiet during the sessions, I'll ask them afterward, are you having fun? Like, do you want to get more into the role play, or are you just enjoying yourself? Is there anything you'd like to do more? And then if the feedback is, yeah, no, I'm enjoying it, I'm not quite sure where to jump in yet, then I try and push more opportunities their way. If it's, yeah, I'm having fun, but I'm not ready yet, then it's like, okay, well then, yeah, we'll just keep going. When you feel ready, jump on in. And it's letting everyone do it at their own pace. So great players at tables, they don't just make their own characters awesome, they try and help everyone else feel awesome too. And when we're all working together, that's when the best sessions happen. Number 3 is respecting boundaries. So everyone has different comfort levels with topics like violence, romance, horror, and trauma. And especially since I like to run horror games occasionally. Once again, I am highlighting Session 0. Respect the Session 0 agreements that your group has made. And a side note is, when you're doing Session 0, participate honestly and engage with the Session 0. If your group or some of your players are only kind of phoning it in, and then they get upset later about something that they didn't bother bringing up but they knew was a thing, then why did you have a Session 0 in the first place? And the example for this I'm going to use is just, you have a player that is arachnophobic. They know that they're arachnophobic. They've not made it a small secret that they're arachnophobic. To their friends and family, not necessarily the gaming group. But during session 0, when the GM says, is there any fears that people have that they would like me to avoid? And they go, nope, no, I'm all good. And then the GM tosses in some spider swarms as an enemy, and the player goes, nope, I'm out. We can't do this. Nope. And it's like, well, how long have you known that you were dealing with this? I'm not saying you can't change your mind in the moment, but it's better if everyone's honest at the start, and they try to actually think about the question instead of just like, oh no, I'm fine with anything. That's totally cool. It just helps save time later on, and it helps save the GMs a little bit of guilt. I know I'm like, oh, did you tell me about this? Was this something I should have been aware of? I'm sorry that I threw this encounter in there if it affects you this much. Like, if my session 0s, going on a full tangent here, I use the green, yellow, red system, which I'll go over this later in a more detailed video. But green is fine, do whatever. Yellow is, I'm okay with it in small doses, push my boundaries a tiny bit, but let's not make it a heavy theme. And red is, nope, no go, don't want it. Well, I'm arachnophobic, but I'm fine with spiders in games. Spiders, for me, mostly are a green topic. But if they start, like, the spiders are incubating in somebody and they burst out, depending on how to script, that's a yellow for me. Too descriptive, and I'm like, nope, I don't want to deal with that. That just icks me out. But if it's not super descriptive, I don't really care. So it's a yellow. I'll go into it more in a later video. The big thing, I'm going to circle back here, is that session 0 is a tool for telling a better story as a group and to ensure that everyone has a good time. And that's what we're after, is everyone having a good time. So if someone doesn't like something, you wouldn't recommend them that thing. I'm trying to think of how I want to say this. It's just, be a nice person. If someone doesn't like babies in a zombie movie, you wouldn't recommend them a zombie movie that has babies. Like, if everyone's comfortable, everyone's having more fun, there's laughter, and the table is good. But if someone's not having fun, then the mood drops, and then everyone else's mood drops. So there are a couple different ways about this, doing it at the table. The ones I use, so session 0, the green, yellow, red, that's session 0. At the table, I also use the X card or X factor and then the fade to black. So if someone uses either of these two, then don't question it, don't challenge it, just move on. If you need to go back a little bit and reskin what's happening, do that. But being a safe, respectful player and making that space safe and respectable, it builds trust and it allows deeper storytelling over time. I mean, it can suck that if it was a scene that you're interested in, yeah, that's fair, it sucks. But I think it's worse to be forced to sit with something that makes you uncomfortable or that you find traumatizing. And so I did mention them before. If you're not sure what the X card or fade to black systems are, then here's a super brief explanation. This is, again, something that needs to have its own video. It's a big topic. For me, the X card or the X factor is, if something comes up in the session, a player can immediately say nope or nope, to cut it off, done. I will re-describe the scene to take that element out, or we will just cut that scene entirely and we'll shift focus slightly. Yeah, that's for the really bad situations. While fade to black is more of and I'm uncomfortable, but I'm okay with it being in the story. I just no more details. Let's skip over it, please. And that's easier to work with. And it's like, okay, nope, that's great. Your party finishes exploring the caves, and you emerge into the sunlight outside. Please give me a dice roll to see how much time has passed. Good, we're golden. So this is a really heavy one that could go a lot of ways, but I'm going to keep going because this video is already going to be kind of long. If you're interested in a solid video explaining these concepts, then let me know in the comments, and I can add it to the things I talk about. But what it all boils down to is don't make other people uncomfortable for your enjoyment. Yeah. Number 4. Know your character. And this is my personal pet peeve. Of course, there's leeway here. You don't need to memorize every rule, especially coming into a new system. I'm a rules lawyer that I like to refer to myself as a rules sage, where I like to know the rules, but I'm not pushy about the rules. Players should have a solid understanding of their abilities, their spells, and their equipment, which keeps the game flowing more smoothly. This goes double for complicated classes like spellcasters or those that are mechanically complex. I mean, I'm thinking Pathfinder off the top of my head, and that is spellcasters, especially the ones that vary from the full casting, like witches, oracles with their curse, which has hexes, mechanical classes, not just spellcasting. We're looking at the alchemist or the swashbuckler. Players should know what their class does. And if you're learning a new class for the first session, 2 or 3, it's okay, take a little bit more time. But if you're starting to get to session 7, 8, 9, 10, and you don't know the basics of the system, like how to make a roll, or like how to just make a skill check or an attack roll, what bonuses you add, or you don't know the basics of your class, I start to really feel like you don't value my time or anyone else at the table's time. And I'm not asking for perfect mastery. It's just know roughly what your character can do. Maybe refresh your spells before you start every session. Like, take a couple of minutes, just go through your spell list and refresh what it is that your character can cast. Or if it's been a while between sessions, go over your basic attack. It's like, not every class has an attack pattern. Most do have an attack pattern. Everyone falls into like a routine of what they like to do, right? So refresh your mind on your routine if it's been a little while. You shouldn't have to spend 5 minutes at the table looking up how to do a basic cantrip. If you find yourself not being able to remember it, I make a ton of notes. Well, like little note cards. If I find myself doing an action more than once, or like a spell that I like to use repeatedly, I'll just make a little card. Especially in the first edition Pathfinder, when I was playing a summoner and I had an Eidolon with a whole bunch of attacks, I just wrote out a card of attack 1, attack 2, attack 3, damage, and then I can do these spells at the same time, and then I could follow the card, or I could pick and choose between cards. So even if you have issues learning, there's still, if you are making an effort, other people will appreciate that effort. If you're not making any effort at all, and you're always asking, like, hey, how do I do this thing? Like, what do I roll again? I mean, like, it's great that we're hanging out. I'm happy to see you again, but man, I want to be playing a story. I want to be telling a story and playing a game. And that can be a little bit frustrating. So, yeah, that's what I want to say on that one. Number 5. And this one's really hard because we're all socially awkward nerds. Most of us. I can't speak for everyone. And that's communication. If there's a problem at the table, or you're not enjoying your character, or if a scene makes you uncomfortable, or if you're just having an off day, talk to your players, talk to your GM. Role-playing games work best when everyone's honest about their needs or expectations. Good communication prevents misunderstanding and keeps the table healthy. If people are feeling off or having a bad day, then small issues that normally could be talked out can begin to spiral and create lasting harm. Like if you came in from work and your boss was yelling at you or something, you're very stressed, and you don't tell anybody, you just sit down and you start playing a game, and then you start being abrupt or snapping at people, or it's like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. I mean, everyone else is going to feel it. But on the flip side, if you come in and you're like, yeah, my boss was on my ass. My boss was on my butt today. I had a really bad day. Like, can we do a little bit of like just beating something up at the start, or like doing something cool? Then the table can be more accommodating instead of just being like, wow, what's his problem, or what's her problem? Communication is great. Communication solves all sorts of things. Like if you're not enjoying your character, tell your GM. If someone's not enjoying a character they're playing, I don't want them playing that character. There's no point. They're just going to come to every session and be unhappy that they're playing this person that they don't like. Or if if a scene is uncomfortable, again with the boundaries and respect, let me know immediately. I don't want players sitting there if it's too uncomfortable for them. Like if it's a little bit uncomfortable, and that's the vibe I'm going for, and that's the story we're telling, like session 0, it's like you might be uncomfortable. That's different. But I want players to tell me if it's like, no, this has crossed the line, or like I'd really prefer if we miss this. I know I'm kind of reiterating that point, but it's very important. So, yeah, communicate. Be honest. Be truthful with each other. And then the last tip as a player is support your game runner. Support your game master, your dungeon master, your storyteller. Running a game is hard. There's no way around that. And if you haven't been on the side of the screen where you're telling the story and trying to make up content and make things fun for your friends, you might not realize how hard it is. But it's tough. Burnout happens. Burnout will happen a lot faster if you don't help your GM. Like, respect them. Be on time to sessions. Respond to scheduling polls. Like, this one really irks me as well. Is if I put a poll up saying like, hey, is everyone good? And then I hear crickets, I'm gonna be like, what's going on? Like, are we doing the thing? Are we not doing the thing? Back on the responding to polls about scheduling, responding to questions about how the story is going. If you enjoyed a session, let them know, like, hey man, that was really great. Thanks for running today. Let your GM know what you liked or loved about the session. That helps reinvigorate the storytellers about what's going on. Like, yeah, they're liking this. I got to keep doing it. Maybe consider bringing their favorite snacks once in a while. And bonus points if it's the GM's favorite snack and it's non-greasy, because they need to be looking through books, through their computer. It slows down time if we got to like, yep, wipe off your fingers. Small gestures go a long way to helping storytellers and game runners stay motivated and your campaign thriving. So again, burnout is real, and you can check out this video where I talk about why campaigns tend to fail and ways you can avoid it. So, wrapping up, in the end, being a great player isn't about having the best build or the cleverest plan. Those make a good character, but they're not a good player. For me, being a good player and a great player is about creating a space where everyone feels welcome, respected, and inspired to tell the best story that they can together. We're not mocking people that are sitting there trying to tell their story and they're being shy about it. Everyone is working together to tell an exciting story of whatever genre you're running. Ideally, everyone's heavily involved. If it's a horror game, people are on the edge of their seat waiting to see what happens to this one character. Or if it's an action game, everyone's like, yeah, you made that attack. That's great. Screw you, bad guy. And the GM is like, yeah, screw you, bad guy. Though I got stuck on thinking about screw you, bad guy. So I have a question for all of you. What's one table manner you think every player should follow? Drop it in the comments below. I'd love to hear your wisdom, and the group hive mind can gather many more thoughts and opinions than just me sitting in my basement looking at my demons. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss any of my future videos. It would mean a lot to me, and it lets me know what you guys want to see. So until next time, may your dice roll true, and may your table always feel like it's a home. So long, adventurers.